farm system. There's really no next generation. The next generation is, I mean, look at some of the talent that they're bringing up from NXT. I mean, it's kind of shaky at best. I mean, you got this Riot Squad with Ruby Riott, who I remember wrestling with her when she was Heidi Loveless. I mean, she looks like a bird. I want to feed her birdseed every time I look at her big old nose. Sarah Logan, who was Crazy Mary Dobson. I mean, you don't look at those girls and go, oh, my God, they're beautiful. They're like Tori. They're like Sunny. They're like Sable. No, you look at them and go, they're cute. I mean, just the talent right now is just, it's just, the products become stale, man. And when you're using guys who are in their 40s to, like, be box office draws, I mean, what are you going to do when those guys can't go anymore?
Yeah, you definitely great points on when they need ratings boost. They bring back The Undertaker, or they brought back Goldberg to main event WrestleMania and fight Brock Lesnar, and things like that. You definitely you nailed it right on the head. They don't really have a next generation, and you got Royal Rumble coming up, and I'm going to go on a limb here, but I'm guessing the Royal Rumble winner is probably going to be somebody like a John Cena or Randy Orton or I was going to put all my eggs in Roman Reigns' basket, but I'm not really sure what to expect now with the allegations that came out that a guy gave a prison interview saying that he distributed steroids to him. So who knows what's going to happen with that? I don't know if there's any legs to stand on there, but it's probably going to come to one of those guys or some another part-timer they're going to bring back for a cheap pop is going to probably end up dominating it. So that's probably what's going to end up happening.
The reason why you watch the Royal Rumble is because you never know who's going to show up.
Yeah.
So I think you probably have seen that a lot of guys have walked away from Impact or TNA, whatever it's called now. A lot of guys have walked away from contracts the last couple of weeks, including Chris Masters, or Chris Adonis as he's known there. Ethan Carter III, who was Derek Bateman in WWE when he was there. A lot of people have been talking about a lot of these guys may show up at the Rumble this year. So I'm excited to watch it. I obviously have the network because I like watching NXT. I like watching the old stuff. In fact, I'm currently going through, I think, year 1996 Nitros right now to watch. But I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to enjoy watching some of the guys come back and some of the special guests. But for the winner, who cares? John Cena? Oh, whoa, we've seen that before. Oh, Randy Orton? Oh, neat, we've seen that before. Oh, Roman Reigns? Oh, we didn't see that coming. Oh, Seth Rollins? Oh, that was the big surprise. I mean, it's just you said it yourself. You're going to put these names in a hat. Which one's going to win? I don't think you're wrong. I think that everyone you named has a legitimate shot at winning. So.
Yeah. Now, if they were, wanting to do something different, they would do the shock value winner, somebody that you would never expect. But they don't. I guess even when the early days of Royal Rumble, kind of had, you would think it was a shock factor, but if you really, think about it, Stone Cold Steve Austin winning it wasn't really, or Shawn Michaels wasn't much of a shock factor, looking back on. But speaking of the Royal Rumble match, they're actually adding a second Royal Rumble match, this one being a women's Royal Rumble, which for WWE, the women's division's really come a long way because, you brought up some names like Sunny and Sable and, those names, Trish Stratus, back in the Attitude Era and into most of the 2000s, the women's division's all about, eye candy, bra and panty matches and jello matches and pillow fight matches and whatever type matches, and now it's actually about actual women's wrestling. So what are your thoughts on them adding a women's Royal Rumble match, 30 participants?
All right, I'm going to sum up the women's Royal Rumble in one word. Oh, yawn.
Yeah.
Okay, here, let's see. Is it going to be Charlotte? Is it going to be Natty Neidhart? Is it going to be, what's her name, Alexa Bliss? Is it going to be Becky Lynch? Is it going to be Sasha Banks? Okay, that's who's going to win the Rumble. We all know it. And it's going to be a bunch of little fat, ugly chicks from NXT. No offense, but, man, that's really what it is. And if you look at some of the girls coming up, now, who's going to make a guest appearance is that, what's her name, Shayna Baszler, the UFC girl. She's going to come in. Everybody's talking about Ronda Rousey might be a special guest in the Royal Rumble. Well, I can guarantee you it's not going to be Ronda Rousey, because if they're going to pull that card, they're going to get their money's worth out of it, and she's going to make her debut at WrestleMania. So, no, it's not going to be her. But like I said, young. I mean, I'm tired of watching the same 6 girls compete for the belt. So,
yeah, definitely typically have the same 6 competing all the time. It is something different, adding that match to it, but it'll probably end up being, like one of the, ones that you would name. But I know she came over from New Japan, but kind of make sure I pronounce the name correct, is Asuka, I think the pronunciation.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see them doing anything with her, or is it going to be your typical what they do with Japanese competitors where they don't really know what to do with them?
No, they might do something with her, and the only reason why is because they're going to try to get that market. They want that market from overseas, and that's the same reason why they put the belt on, what's his name, Jinder Mahal. It was because they wanted that foreign market. Wherever they want to pick up buys for the network is who they put the belt on. But, yeah, as far as the women's women's Royal Rumble, it's the same 6 girls that are going to be competing for that spot. And, like I said, it's, same players, just a bunch of added little fat girls from NXT. So,
yeah. So kind of like what they do with the men's division is they throw all these names in there and all these surprise entrances, but at the end of the day, it's going to probably come down to the same 6 people, for the final, when it's all said and done, pretty much.
And it's the same 5 people. It's the same 5 people we've seen 100 times. That's all there is. Charlotte squares off against Bayley against. It'll be. I guarantee you, it's going to come down to the 4 horsewomen versus the 4 or the old 4 horsewomen, which is what, Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, and who's the other one? Becky Lynch. It'll be them coming down as Shayna Baszler and her little group of girls. Or Ruby Riot's little gang of girls, and then they'll square off, and Charlotte end up winning.
Yeah. Final question about the current products. I know you mentioned you don't really watch Raw too much anymore, but Braun Strowman, he's the guy that is really.
Braun Strowman's legit.
A long way since he first appeared on television, where he was extremely green, to now he's probably one of their biggest names right now if they continue to push him right. But I just heard you say that he's legit, but other than being legit, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's definitely, they're pushing him to the moon, but that's because Vince has always been fascinated with bigger guys, so.
Yeah, he's always been fascinated with bigger guys, but it seems like Strowman is a bigger guy, but it seems like he's kind of different than Vince's usual bigger guys, which they're usually, don't have much charisma. They're very slow, not great athletes per se. Like, Andre the Giant, when Vince finally got him, was not the same Andre. Then you have Big Show. Braun Strowman is a pretty good athlete, and he moves pretty good in the ring, especially for a guy his size.
He does. So what you do is you go back and look at the guys that were great for their size, like the Bam Bam Bigelows, and the King Kong Bundy actually moved very well for his size. Big John Studd moved very well for his size. So you're going back to that, and like you said, he's not the prototypical bodybuilder, which Vince has always been fascinated with bodybuilders, but he also likes the guys that are larger in life. And here's the problem that I run into. I got a letter from the WWE one time. They sent out, this is back before emails really were like the thing. I got a letter, and I actually framed it, and it said, if you are not 6 foot and 225 pounds or above, please do not send tapes to WWE offices, or actually it was WWF offices at the time, because creative has nothing for you. And what did they do with that? They took the 6 foot 225 guys, and now they're giving jobs to guys like Leo Rush, the little black guy from NXT, who is 5'6", 158 pounds, And what do people say? Oh, they'll put him on 205 Live. He'll be a cruiserweight. Do you remember WCW when the cruiserweights were 225 pounds or below? That was what a cruiserweight used to be. So with a guy like Strowman there, that's not his typical bodybuilder guy, but it is his typical big guy who's bigger than the fans. When my son, who's 17 years old, is 6 foot, 145 pounds, he's actually physically taller and wider than a guy like Leo Rush. Why does my son want to buy a $50 ticket to Monday Night Raw to see a guy who's smaller than him? The reason why we bought tickets and we became fans is because of the Road Warriors, because of the Ultimate Warrior, because of Hulk Hogan, because of Lex Luger, because of Sting, because of those guys. Even a guy like Shawn Michaels, when he was in the Rockers, people said, oh, he was little. No, he wasn't little. He was 230 pounds. The problem was he was up against Big Boss Man and Hakeem, who were both, 350 and above. So I think Strowman is a really good throwback to what Vince used to like, and I think that's the reason why he's getting pushed to the moon.
Yeah. Do you see Vince pulling that trigger and putting the belt on him, or do you see Vince just more using him, I guess, I don't know how I want to word it, but just in that title picture but never quite gets the title?
No, I see Vince using him Vince is going to use him as a chaser. So you're always going to have him, predominantly chasing the champion. He's going to be this monster that chases the champion, that does all the, and putting the belt on him, he's not going to draw money. You got to have a guy that can draw money. Braun Strowman will never draw money as a main eventer, but what Braun Strowman will do will bring credibility to whoever the champion is because they're beating a legit giant and a legit monster. The same thing with Kane and the heavyweight title. Kane's gimmick was always to be a monster, to be this character. Kane was never going to be a great WWE champion because I can't remember if he ever even held the heavyweight title for any length of time. But the problem is he was always good because he was that scary monster that was able to put over that money guy. He was the guy that, made people look good because, man, he beat Kane. Just like if Seth Rollins was the heavyweight champion and he beat Braun Strowman, it's like, oh, my God, he beat, Seth Rollins beat Strowman, or Dean Ambrose beat Strowman, or Randy Orton took a beating from Strowman, but he ended up winning. That's where your money's at,
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't make sense to put a strap on him.
Yeah. You mentioned Kane. The only two times I really remember him actually winning and you correct me if I'm wrong, the title match is, he on a pay-per-view he beat Austin. I think it was in the First Blood match when he first came into the WWE as Kane. I don't know if he had been around in other roles. And then I think he lost it the very next night. And then him and The Undertaker and the Brothers of Destruction feud with Austin, they both pinned Austin for the 1, 2, 3. And I think that's the only times I remember him winning in a title match, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, here's a guy that's been with WWE over 20 years, and he's only gotten those 2 spots.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? I mean, a one-day championship, that's because he always made a better guy to put over your heavyweight champion. He was never a money guy. He never drew money. When you looked at it, you were like, Kane is on the main event. Oh, well, who's he wrestling? Well, if he's wrestling Joe Blow, it doesn't matter because Kane is, he's not a money draw. No one's going to buy a ticket to go see Kane. Would they have bought a ticket to see Hulk Hogan versus Kane? Absolutely, because Hulk Hogan is your money draw, and Kane is your legitimate monster that would like, oh my God, he might kill Hulk Hogan,
Yeah. So I guess last couple questions before I let you go. And I do, again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I've actually really enjoyed this conversation. I'm, learning a bunch. I'm learning a lot just, listening to your viewpoints and your thoughts. Controversial figure in wrestling. A guy by the name of Vince Russo. He takes credit for the Attitude Era, but then you watch his work in WCW and then his work in TNA. Is he this genius that he puts himself out to be? Or, where do you put him in the world of wrestling?
Okay, so Vince Russo did not create the Attitude Era. Vince Russo